Hi, welcome to the Financial IQ Podcast. I'm Adam Jones, Senior Advisor at Keeler Management. Today we're going to talk about your retirement checklist, certain milestones that you need to be aware of, things that should happen at certain ages, and how to best prepare for your retirement. A while back, I was with my wife and my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law pulled us aside and said, you know, of all of our children, we've decided that you two are the ones we're going to come live with when the time comes. And so I was taken back a little bit, and later that night, my wife and I were home and talking, and she said, Adam, what are we going to do? You know what I said? You know what my answer was? Stairs. We're going to build stairs all over this house that lead to nowhere, like really long, wide, jagged stairs everywhere. Of course I'm kidding, partially, but it put in my mind, what's your plan? You got to have a plan for these things. What's the unintended thing or the consequence? You have to have a plan in place. So certainly when we're talking about retirement, we have to have a plan. Otherwise, mother-in-laws might move in when you don't want them to. So having a plan in place is important. And it's not just about the numbers, it's really about what matters to you. What's important to you? What are your goals? As someone who helps people prepare for retirement, that's really where we like to start. Because we can run the numbers all day long and do the math and explain how it's going to work, but if it's not reaching your goals, then it doesn't really matter. So you should always start with what matters to you. And then figure out how we use our tools, the money we have, the savings we have, the income we'll get, the resources we have to reach those goals. So a goal-oriented financial retirement plan is really important and really valuable. And guess what? If you haven't done it yet, start today. It can be daunting for some people to have to sit down and figure this out and stress about it and worry about it, but you definitely want to take care of it now before it's too late, and then you have all these regrets and you're not living a life that matters most to you. So put pen to paper, put a plan in place, have some confidence about it, and work with some professionals so that you can be on the right track. So let's talk about your milestones, things that'll happen at certain ages, certain dates, and things you want to make sure that you're doing. Really, the first one, or the first age or milestone that we hit is at age 50. What is it about age 50 that's something you can do at that age that you couldn't do before? It has to do with ketchup, okay? Not ketchup and mustard or other condiments, but something called a catch-up provision, where you're now eligible to save more in your retirement plans. For example, if you're contributing to a 401k plan through your employment, you have, in the year 2023, if you're under 50, you've been able to do $22,500 of your own contributions. If you're 50 now or older, you have the ability to do these catch-up contributions and do an additional $7,500. That would be $30,000 that you could be putting away. So some people find themselves at that age 50, maybe the kids are finally out of the house, we have some more income, or both spouses are working. Now's a great time to try and put away as much money as we can. And those catch-up provisions in your retirement plan through your employment are a great way to do that. Similarly, if you have a IRA, whether it's a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, you have a catch-up provision of an additional $1,000. So you could be putting away more in these areas. So that is the first thing to consider at age 50. Also, some long-term planning, you'll want to consider, how much am I saving? Am I saving enough? So having a plan in place for, am I going to get to that number I need when I want to be able to retire and have enough? Maybe sometimes it can be a small amount, meaning I just need to be saving another $100 a month between now and the time I retire, and that will help me achieve my goals. So consider how much you're saving. You want to consider whether you're contributing on a pre-tax basis or a Roth basis, and what the best scenario is for you. So that's the first milestone, age 50. The second one is age 55. And this one is more rare because people don't do this as often, but it is an option. If you're deciding to retire early at age 55, you will have the opportunity to take what's called early distributions from your retirement plan and avoid any penalties. Normally, if you take a distribution before a certain age, you'll face a 10% penalty. But with separation from service, you could start early distributions from your retirement plan if you're not planning on going back to work. So age 55, again, another good age to say, do we have our plan in place? Are we considering all the things that are approaching in the next 10 years or so? And we are setting ourselves up for success. The next age or milestone is age 59 and a half. Now, why they use these half ages is it's for actuarial purposes, but they're really annoying because most people aren't thinking about when's my half birthday during the year. But age 59 and a half, magical age, is the age at which you can start taking penalty-free distributions from retirement accounts. So if you have a 401k plan, even if you're still working, you have the option to take a distribution penalty-free. Similarly with your IRAs, you can take, from your traditional IRA, you can take a penalty-free distribution. If you have a Roth account, then you can take a distribution with no penalty and also not have to pay taxes since it's in the form of a Roth IRA. So 59 and a half is an important age. Some people need to start taking distributions at that age and they can avoid the 10% penalty. Some plans allow for something called an in-service rollover, which means I'm still working, but I'd like to take the balance in my 401k and roll it over to an IRA for any number of reasons, whether it's for different investment options or to create something for myself that I can't do in my 401k plan, but that I'd like to be able to do in an IRA. At 59 and a half, in most plans, you have that option of an in-service distribution or an in-service rollover. And then you can continue working and continue contributing to your 401k plan, but also have this new IRA plan that you've set up for yourself. So 59 and a half, okay? Make sure you have a half a cake on that day. Also, 59 and a half is a good time to consider conversions, whether you're going to convert from a IRA to a Roth IRA or an in-plan conversion of your 401k plan from a traditional to a Roth. It might be a good time if you think you'll be in a higher tax bracket down the road. All right, next milestone, next age, age 62. Age 62 is the earliest age at which you can apply for a Social Security benefit, okay? So if you're wanting to retire earlier than normal, let's say at 62, you might be eligible for your Social Security benefit, or your spouse might be. And you'll want to consider if that is a good option for you. Remember, when we take a Social Security benefit early, we're locking in a reduced amount, okay? There's certainly reasons why you might want to do that or be in a situation to do that. You'll want to understand all the rules and ages when it comes to Social Security, and we'll talk about a few of those today. But age 62, earliest at which you can apply for your Social Security benefit. Now that you're in your early 60s, you know, a lot of people, normal retirement age is around 65, 66. A lot of people are getting close to that point when they're at 62. It's a really good time to start considering simplification. And that often comes in the form of consolidation, meaning if you have 5 accounts spread across the place and you can't remember what does what and what's invested where, and they're all with different companies, it might be a good time to start considering consolidating, if you can, your accounts into fewer baskets. Now, this doesn't mean we're not diversifying. Of course, our investments are diversified in different areas. But do we really need to have all these different accounts that are going to be harder and harder for us to remember and keep track of? Now that we're, getting older, our brain doesn't work as well, and it's very easy to forget about things and how things work and become frustrated. So simplification is a good idea when we're approaching retirement. So at early 60s, it's a good time to consider that. Or even now, depending what your age is, might be a good time to consolidate. Most people put it off because they don't want to do paperwork or have a meeting or have to worry about it or take care of it. But if you're serious about reaching your goals and doing what matters, you'll want to take this step seriously. All right, the next age or milestone is age 65. At 65, you become eligible for Medicare. Now, some people get confused between Medicare and Medicaid. A good way to remember the difference is we care for the elderly, not that being 65 makes you elderly, but we care for the elderly and we aid the poor. So Medicaid is for those who need some help. Medicare is the insurance for those who are turning 65. So at 65, you become eligible for Medicare. There are some reasons why you may not sign up for Medicare at 65, namely because you're working still for a large employer that covers more than 20 individuals, and you have good insurance through your employment. If that's the case, you can delay signing up for Medicare until you're ready to leave that job, and you can sign up at a later date. However, if you're not working, you'll want to make sure you sign up on time, because if you don't, there are penalties that stay with you the rest of your life, meaning the premiums that you pay for Medicare are much higher and they stay with you. So you really want to understand the Medicare decision. It's pretty complicated. There's lots of resources to help you. In fact, the Medicare website is medicare.gov is actually a very helpful website. It has some good videos and resources to help you figure it all out. Just real quick, you want to make sure that you're signing up for the right parts of Medicare at the right time. They like to use the alphabet, so there's Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, and then in addition to those, you have your Medicare supplement or Medigap insurance programs that you purchase through a private insurance. So because Medicare doesn't cover everything, a Medicare supplement policy or Medigap insurance policy can fill in those gaps left by Medicare. So make sure you have a plan in place for Medicare, that you know when to sign up so you don't have those penalties. You want to meet with a professional to help you figure it out. And then depending on where you live will be tied to the insurance premiums you'll pay for your Medicare supplement plans. And depending on income will affect your Medicare Parts B and D premiums. Medicare C, also called Medicare Advantage, is a different option as well. So as you can see, there's lots of things associated with Medicare. Make sure you have a decision made and a plan in place for it, because it can get kind of hairy and you want to make sure you're not making any mistakes. So that happens at age 65, okay? Important date. All right, the next age or ages happen between 66 and 67. This is your full retirement age when it comes to Social Security. Just real quick, if you were born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. If you happen to be born between 1955 and 1959, then you are 66 and some months. It's 2 months for each of those years, so 1955 would be 66 and 2 months. Until you get to 1960, anyone born then or after your full retirement age is 67. So what does that mean, full retirement age? That's the age at which 100% of your benefit is promised to be paid out. If you decide to take it early, like we talked about at age 62, you get a reduced amount. So you wouldn't get 100% of your full retirement age, you'd get something less. At 62, it's 75% reduction if your full retirement age is 66. So whenever you're planning for your Social Security benefits, that's the number that is used as your full retirement age, and then you work off of that whether you're going to take it early or later. If you take it later, you get what's called delayed credits, and you get more in the form of your Social Security check. So again, at 66 to 67, we're considering taking Social Security. Maybe this is about the time we're retiring. We want to be considering simplification, consolidation. We've got all our ducks in a row. We've signed up for Medicare. We're starting our Social Security benefits. We've got income coming from other sources, whether that's retirement plans, real estate, or other things. So the decisions you make about Social Security are really important because it can affect those other areas of your retirement planning. All right, next age is age 70. That's the latest age at which you can claim your Social Security benefit. So if you delay taking it to that point, you will actually increase what you get from Social Security. You'll get these delayed credits that give you more per month. So for some of you, it's worth considering delaying your Social Security benefit. If you're going to delay it, that means income has to come from other sources if you're retired, whether that's a pension or rental income or distributions from your retirement plans. So make sure you have a plan in place. Age 70, it's a good idea at that point, certainly if you haven't already, have an estate plan in place. Estate planning is for everyone. This is the idea of I have a will that tells people where I want my stuff to go. Might have a trust in place that owns things like my home or other real estate or large assets that will help for the transfer of those assets at my death. Just as important, I have health care directives, meaning if I become incapacitated, this is what I want to have happen, whether or not you want the plug pulled or not. And financial power of attorneys, meaning someone can pay the bills if I'm incapacitated, as well as making sure your beneficiary designations on your retirement accounts and insurance are accurate. There's lots and lots of horror stories where someone left a beneficiary, whether it's an ex-spouse or someone else, they didn't end up wanting the money to go and never changed the beneficiary designation. And when they died, the money went to the person they did not want it to go to, simply because they never updated their forms. So now's a good time to check who's listed as the beneficiaries on my different retirement plans and insurance so that my wishes are met when I pass, because a beneficiary designation is what is law. So if it goes to the courts, that's what they're going to look at, and that's where the money goes. So don't be one of those horror stories where your money goes to the wrong person. Again, age 70, a lot of people are well into their retirement. They've got an idea of how much money they're spending, what kind of lifestyle they're wanting to live, and that they're making good decisions, and that their investments match their risk tolerance and their goals for what they're trying to do. Okay, the next age, or ages again, is age 70 and a half, then 72, then 73. So these are the required minimum distribution ages. It used to be that it was 70 and a half. Then Congress passed the first Secure Act, which pushed the required minimum distribution age to 72. And then at the end of 2022, they passed Secure Act 2.0, which pushed the RMD age back to 73. And in the future, they're going to push it again to 75 in the year 2035. So this is good. People are living longer. This kicks the can of tax deferral down the road. But it's something that we have to prepare for. If we're not already taking the minimum amount, we have to be taking those distributions. And if you don't take them, there can be penalties. They've adjusted what those penalties are with the new Secure Act, but it's something you don't want to miss. Make sure you're taking it and make sure you're accounting for it, because you may take money out even if you don't need to, because the government wants you to take these minimum distributions. So the question we get a lot is, what do we do with this money if we don't need to take it? And you have some options, which are good planning options. One of the options you can choose to do is something called a charitable contribution, or qualified charitable contribution, which means instead of you getting the distribution, you can send it directly to the charity of your choice and not have to pay the tax on the distribution. So this is a good tool for a lot of people who don't need the money and they want to benefit someone or a charity. Other options are you can start a 529 college savings plan for children or grandchildren, use that money for a good purpose. There's insurance options where you can buy second-to-die life insurance policies to benefit people, meaning we can take those distributions that we're required to take. We don't need it. We can buy life insurance, though, that when we die, we benefit our children or the charity of our choice or the things that we're concerned about. So there's lots of planning options when it comes to these required minimum distributions. That being said, you want to make sure that you have a plan in place for it and don't be caught off guard that you're required to do it. And that will happen every year as long as you have money in your tax-deferred retirement accounts. So RMD ages have changed. Make sure you know when yours is and that you're accounting for that in your retirement planning. Again, we want to make sure our estate planning's in order. We want to make sure our investments match our goals at that point, our risk tolerance. And for a lot of people, once we start to get to these later ages, the question of, well, I think I'm going to be okay. What does this all mean for my legacy or for my children? How will this money impact them? So you'll want to have the option of being able to have those legacy conversations with yourself and with your family of saying, you know what, we've done a good job of planning for retirement. We're going to have excess. We put the mask on ourselves on the airplane before we put it on the person next to us, but now we're able to do that. And what does that mean? Do we want to give children just a bunch of money? Do we want it to go to the things we care about? And how will that impact those individuals? There are resources out there that can help you have those conversations, put a plan in place, but it's always a good idea to talk to family about money and avoid those difficult conversations, because sometimes money can do funny things to people and funny things to families. So having those important conversations is key. So we went through a lot of different ages. Things happen at different times. If you haven't started planning, now is the time to start doing that. I promise you that if you start planning, you'll start to have some confidence and have a roadmap for what you need to be doing to reach those goals. Start with what matters most to you, and then start making the roadmap, how the money will work for us to get us to those points. Figure out what your number is, meaning how much do we need to save to get to retirement, what will it look like. Plan for those different ages we talked about, whether it's with Social Security or Medicare, about when to sign up for things so we don't have penalties, and make sure that we're constantly reviewing our plan, because things change all the time. We get new jobs, we lose jobs, we have a death in the family, our goals change. So your retirement planning is not a one and done thing. It's constant revisions, adjusting to what's happening in the markets and in your own life. So thank you for joining us today on the Financial IQ Podcast. I'm Adam Jones. Have a wonderful day.